home, really, please. Said, no, they stayed. And that was the start of England having a huge influence over Ireland. They tried to make Ireland part of Great Britain. And the idea of Great Britain was that it would be all of the islands of England and Ireland together. Ireland was supposed to be West Britain, but that never happened. Irish people were always too difficult to control. They were always causing problems. We always had plenty of revolutions. We were never very good at revolutions. They always failed. Nearly all of them failed. But at the beginning of the 20th century, around the same time as the Russian Revolution, Ireland had a revolution, which also failed. But this one was they made a big mistake in this one, because what the British leaders did is they captured the leaders of the revolution and they shot them in one of the prisons in Dublin. And that meant that all the local population suddenly had sympathy for the leaders, and it caused a war which resulted in Ireland being a free country. So now Ireland is an independent country, but the English language is dominant. Because during the time that England tried to control Ireland, part of what they did was to make it illegal to speak the Irish language. It was illegal to teach the Irish language. So if you wanted to do anything in normal life, to farm the land, to sell animals, to sell things that you've grown in the land, you had to do it in English. You could not do it in Irish. So the English language has been in Ireland for a long time. We have a saying in Ireland that the English gave us their language and we taught them how to use it. Because Irish writers have had a huge influence on the English language for a very long time. Some of the most famous writers in English are in fact Irish. And you probably know some of them. I don't know if you know that they're Irish, but you know the writers. Can anybody tell me any famous Irish writers?
Robert Burns.
Robert Burns was Scottish. But close. Yeah? Jonathan Swift was Irish. Oscar Wilde was Irish. George Bernard Shaw was Irish. James Joyce was Irish. Samuel Beckett was Irish. So many, many famous writers have been Irish, writing in the English language, and had a huge influence on the English language. So what we do in the school is we organise a programme which have classes for you in the mornings, and in the afternoons we have visits, we have tours, we have social activities where we show you part of the history of Ireland, we show you why Ireland is a different country, why it has such a strong cultural identity. Somebody mentioned Irish dancing, Irish music. It's a very strong identity for Ireland. We try and teach you a bit of dancing. We get you to try and play a bit of music. We try and show you why Ireland is different. Yeah? And many people ask, well, why go to Ireland to study English? Because you are studying English here, of course. But what you have to understand is to get fluency in a language, you must speak it. And you must speak it as much as possible. Yeah? When I come here, particularly in Russia, I find that often students like you are afraid to speak because they're worried about making a mistake. They're worried, maybe I will use the wrong word, use the wrong tense, maybe I'll use the wrong expression. Yeah? You should not be worried about making mistakes, because practice and speaking is the only way you will really get a high level of fluency in a language. Yeah? Mistakes are how you learn. You can correct mistakes later. Yeah? When I come to Russia, my Russian is terrible. Yeah? But when I come here and I stay here, my Russian improves all the time. Because if I don't speak Russian, when I'm here, I don't eat, and I don't drink, and I like eating, and I like drinking. So I have to speak Russian, yeah? And that's how you improve your language. Speaking is vitally important to improving your language. And if you go to an English-speaking country like Ireland, you're surrounded by English all the time. Not just in the classroom, outside on the street, when you're talking to the family that you're living with, when you're walking, you're on the bus, you see the advertising signs all in English. You're surrounded by it. And that's how you pick up new vocabulary, and that's how you get a fluency in being able to speak naturally and quickly with a native speaker. It's very difficult to do that in a classroom. Yeah? So, again, why come to Ireland? Because, of course, many people think if I'm going to study English, well then I will go to England, of course. In Ireland, the advantages are that far fewer students come to Ireland to learn English. If you go to the United Kingdom, for example, if you go to some of the most popular towns and cities to learn English, there are so many foreign students there that it's impossible to meet a native speaker almost. In Ireland, that's not the case. In Ireland, fewer students come, you have a much better opportunity to talk to native speakers. Also, fewer Russian students come to Ireland. So in your classroom, you will have students from many other countries there. We have students from Spain, from Italy, from Brazil, from Argentina, from France, from Germany, from many different countries who study with us. And you will have to speak English. It's the only common language you have. Yeah? Very few Irish people can speak Russian. Yeah? So, also, Irish people, they like to talk. They talk a lot. So they're very friendly. They're very open. They talk very easily. Again, very good for your practice. Yeah? But some people ask, well, in Ireland, don't they, is the English the same? Yeah, don't they have a funny accent in Ireland? Yeah? Well, can you understand me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good. I speak English with an Irish accent. Yeah? It's impossible for me not to. I'm Irish. If there was an English person beside me and he was listening to me, he would know immediately that man is from Ireland. The same way I would be able to tell from the way he's speaking that he's from England. I would be able to tell, is he from London or from Oxford or from Liverpool or from wherever he is from. I will be able to tell. Because accent is part of language everywhere you go. It's a normal part of language. It doesn't mean that you have to be more difficult to understand or easier to understand. There's no such thing as a correct accent. There is correct pronunciation, of course, yes. But accent is part of language. Here in Russia, people speak Russian differently with a different accent depending on where they come from, yeah? They don't speak Russian with the same accent here as in Moscow, no? It's part of language everywhere, yeah? So, in the school, we try and get you to speak as much as possible. Of course, you have to learn grammar, you have to learn vocabulary, but you learn that and you practice that by speaking. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Any questions so far? Okay. So, I'll give you a bit more information about the school. Okay, the school we have was started in 1968. We've been teaching English for about 45 years in Ireland. We have students from many, many different countries who come. Some of them come to study for a short time, and some for a long time. Some come to study just to improve their English. Many of them study because they want to pass examinations. We have a lot of students who study for Cambridge examinations, for IELTS examinations, for TOEFL, TOEIC. We do a lot of different exam preparation in the school as well. So it's possible to do all of those things in Ireland. The programs that we arrange include classes, all your social programs, all your visits, your excursions, your accommodation with an Irish family, where you get your breakfast, your evening meal. They will look after you for the time that you're in Ireland. And all of that is included in a package that we arrange. We look after all of that for you. Okay? To give you an idea of the cost of something like that, for 1 week of a program like that, the cost is €440 for everything. Yeah? So it's like a holiday, a package holiday, something like that. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Yes?
I have a question about Irish language.
Yes.
You said it's different from English language. Is this different a bit?
It's completely different. Yeah, it's a different root. It's a different. There is no similarity at all with the English language. The Irish language is a very old Celtic language. The English language comes from a completely different linguistic root, so there's no commonality between them. The Irish language is a group of languages which was spoken in Ireland, Scotland. Welsh is one of the Celtic languages. The north of France, around Brittany, and the north of Spain, that kind of area, have a set of languages that are the Celtic languages. But one of the interesting things with Ireland, why does Ireland have such a strong nationality, a strong identity? People have mentioned Irish dancing, Irish music. There's an Irish pub in every city almost in the world. Yeah? But why? Because Ireland is a very small country. Ireland never had a big army, a big navy. It never got involved in big conflicts officially. Many Irish soldiers fought. But why has Ireland spread like this around the world? Any ideas on why that is? Pardon?
Because of the whiskey.
Because of the whiskey? Maybe, yeah. They just drank it and got lost, maybe, yeah. Possible, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is different from other countries, its culture is so. I can speak it. Strange. Some people can't understand it, and it is interesting for them to learn about Ireland. I think not only Ireland is so interesting for people with its culture, and that's why it's so spread around the world.
Yeah. It's interesting for people because because it is different. Yeah, it's the Celtic tradition in Ireland lasted for much longer than anywhere else in Europe. But the reason why there are Irish influences all over the world. Yeah.
Irish music and Irish dancing is well known.
Well, no.
It's well known in the world.
Yeah.
Because when you hear the sound, you always you can recognize.
You can recognize it. That's right. It's very recognizable. Yeah.
And there are lots of traditions that
Yeah. There are. Yeah. Yes, of course.
You
Yeah.
said that staying in the Irish family is about 440 euros.
Yes.
For what period of time?
That would be for 1 week for the whole program, including accommodation, the classes, the excursions and tours and activities, everything. Yeah. In Ireland, for all through the time that England were in control of Ireland, Irish people left Ireland for many different reasons. Quite often, when an Irish person was causing trouble, the easiest thing for the rulers to do was to get rid of them, to send them away. So quite often, what they would do is send them to Australia, for example, because when you went to Australia, then you never came back. Yeah, quite often you didn't even get to Australia; the ship sank. Yeah, so Irish people were sent away from Ireland many times. Irish people left Ireland because they had problems with authority and they had to leave many times. Also, during during the middle of the 18th century, the 19th century, there was a big famine in Ireland. I mentioned that the population now in Ireland is about 4 million people. At that time, the population was about 8 million people. There was a famine that lasted for about 4 or 5 years, and during that time, the population dropped from 8 million to 3.5. Many people died, but many people left. Many people left and went to America, and went to Canada, and went to Australia. So they brought their culture, their music, their dancing, their sport. They brought it with them, and kept it with them when they arrived in their new homes. Also, in recent times, Ireland has a very young population. Many students like you, many students in university, and there aren't enough jobs in Ireland for all these students. So many of them leave to go and work in other countries. And again, they bring their traditions with them. So that's why Irish influence is so wide around the world. There are millions of people in America and in Australia who claim to be part Irish because of their history of people who have travelled in the past. Yeah? And the Irish pub is a very important part. You see it in every city you go to as well. The first corner I walked around when I was in my hotel in St. Petersburg, I found an Irish pub. You know, everywhere you go, you find it. But the Irish pub in Irish culture is an important social meeting place. It's not just somewhere to go and have a drink. Yeah, although you can do that as well. Yeah, but in Irish tradition, in Irish culture, the pub was somewhere where you met people to do business, to solve problems, to meet the priest, to settle arguments with your neighbours, to do all of these kind of things, to arrange weddings. You know, what are you holding up for me there? You had the Irish pub was a very important part of the life of the society in Ireland, and they brought that with them as well, and that's why you see Irish bars everywhere. Yeah? Any questions?